Please forgive me. I confessed I was initiated in this school and I did not know it would come to this as...
Keep talking, Amara.
They said the girls' hostel was safer. They lied. Because on my very first night in boarding school, I heard a voice call my name. And I swear on everything I know, nobody was there. My name is Amara. And if there's one thing I wish someone had told me before I entered boarding school, it's this. Not every danger wears a uniform. The day I arrived at Queen's Harmony Girls' College felt like the beginning of something exciting. My mom couldn't stop adjusting my uniform, smoothing invisible creases, like she was preparing me for something bigger than school. "You'll make good friends here," she said, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. My older sister, who had gone to a different boarding school years ago, just hugged me and whispered, "Be careful what you say and who you trust." At the time, I rolled my eyes. Now I understand. The hostel was nothing like I imagined. Instead of the neat, quiet environment I saw in movies, it was loud, too loud. Girls shouting, laughing, arguing, dragging boxes across the tiled floor. The air smelled like perfume, sweat, and something burnt from the kitchen. Rows of bunk beds filled the hall, each one already claimed in ways I didn't understand yet. Some beds were decorated, others you could tell belonged to people you shouldn't touch. I dragged my box nervously until a voice stopped me. "Hey, new girl." I turned. 3 senior girls stood there, their arms folded, their expressions unreadable. The one in the middle stepped forward slowly, chewing gum like she had all the time in the world. "What's your name?" I said. "Amara." She tilted her head. "Speak up." "Amara," she smirked. "We'll see how long that confidence lasts." And the other 2 laughed. And just like that, I understood I wasn't in charge of anything here. My bunkmate was Zainab. She had sharp eyes and the kind of calm that only comes from experience. As I struggled to arrange my things, she watched me silently for a while before finally speaking. "You brought snacks, right?" I blinked. "Yeah, my mom packed a lot." She held her head slowly, almost like she pitied me. "Hide them." "Why?" Zainab gave a small, humorless laugh. "Because if they see it, it's not yours anymore." I frowned. "Who's they?" But she didn't answer. She just looked toward the end of the hall, where the shadows seemed a little too deep for a well-lit room. Follow us if you love interesting stories. Wait until you hear what Zainab was actually afraid of, because they weren't just the seniors.
Quick one, guys. I am currently opening 1,000 slots for those that will be interested in learning how to generate AI videos and earn from them. It is totally free, and to get access to this, make sure you are following me, comment interested, and send me a DM.
Dinner was chaotic. We lined up with our plates, and by the time it got to me, I was already tired. The food didn't look great, but I was too hungry to complain. As I sat down to eat, I noticed something strange. Some girls had extras, snacks, chocolate, biscuits, even juice. In a boarding school where everything was controlled and supplies were supposedly limited, it didn't make sense. I leaned closer to Zainab. "How do they have all that?" She didn't look at me. "Tonight," she said quietly, "you will understand." By the time lights out came, my body was exhausted, but my mind refused to rest. The hostel slowly quieted down, whispers fading into silence. Then a sound. Soft footsteps moving between the bunks. I held my breath. Someone tapped my bed lightly. "New girls, come down," a voice whispered. My heart started racing. I glanced up at Zainab. She was already climbing down with a resigned look on her face. Reluctantly, I followed. We were led outside, behind the hostel, where the security lights barely reached. About 8 of us stood there, new girls, all looking confused, scared, and completely unprepared for the cold night air. Then they came, the seniors, not laughing this time, not smiling, just watching us like we were items on a shelf. The same girl who had spoken to me earlier stepped forward. "Welcome to your real first night," she said calmly. Nobody moved. "In this school, you don't just exist, you earn your place." Another girl stepped forward, carrying a large nylon bag. She dropped it on the ground with a heavy thud. Snacks spilled out, biscuits, juice boxes, and expensive chocolates. My stomach dropped as I realized where the extras at dinner had come from. "Your offering," the senior said. And suddenly, everything Zainab had said about hiding my things made perfect sense. One by one, the girls stepped forward, dropping their snacks into the bag. Some did it quickly, wanting to get it over with. Others hesitated and were met with sharp, predatory stares. When it was Zainab's turn, she didn't even pause. She handed over her stash without looking them in the eye. Then it was my turn. My hands shook as I reached into my bag. My mom's voice echoed in my head, telling me how she had packed all my favorites to keep me happy. I swallowed hard and dropped almost everything. I thought it was over. I really did. I thought I had paid the price for peace. I was wrong. A voice came from behind us, cold, sharp. No, the air shifted instantly. Another senior stepped forward, taller, quieter, more dangerous than the others. She looked directly at me, her eyes tracking the slight bulge in my pocket. She's hiding something. I thought a chocolate bar was worth keeping, but I was about to find out that in this school, greed has a very literal price.
Quick one, guys. I am currently opening 1,000 slots for those that will be interested in learning how to generate AI videos and earn from them. It is totally free, and to get access to this, make sure you are following me, comment interested, and send me a DM.
My chest tightened as the tall senior closed the distance between us. I started to protest, but the words died in my throat. Before I could even blink, two other seniors moved in, their hands diving into my pockets with practiced speed. And there it was, the small chocolate bar I had kept. It was just one, a tiny piece of home I wasn't ready to let go of. I don't even know why I hid it. Maybe I just wanted something that was still mine in a place that already felt like it was stripping me of everything. The senior's expression hardened into something cold and metallic. "You think you're smart, Amara? You think the rules don't apply to you because you have a pretty face?" "I'm sorry," I whispered, the tears already stinging my eyes. But I quickly learned that in Queen's Harmony, sorry was a currency that held no value. It meant nothing here. What happened next? Let's just say that was the moment I learned that in boarding school, rules aren't written on any notice board, but breaking them have consequences you won't forget. They didn't just take the chocolate, they took my dignity, making me stay on my knees on the gravel long after the other girls had been sent back to bed. Much later, back in my bunk, my body was sore from the rough ground and my pride was completely gone. I crawled under my thin blanket, trying to find a position that didn't ache. I tried to sleep, desperate to end this nightmare of a first day. But sleep didn't come, because as the hostel fell into a heavy, artificial silence, something else started. At first, it was faint, almost like the wind whistling through a crack in the window frame. Then, footsteps. Not the sharp, rhythmic clicking of the senior sandals. These were slow, dragging right outside the hostel window. I sat up, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked around the darkened hall. Everyone else seemed to be asleep, their breathing deep and rhythmic. Or maybe they were just better at pretending than I was. Then I heard it, a whisper. It wasn't coming from the hallway or the other bunks. It was right against the glass, soft, too close. "Amara?" My blood ran cold. I turned toward the window slowly, my breath hitching in my chest. There was nothing out there but the vast, empty darkness of the school compound. "Amara?" This time it was clearer, like someone was standing right there on the other side of the pane, their lips pressed against the pane, calling specifically for me. I leaned closer, my shaky breath fogged the glass. "Who's there?" I whispered. No answer, just a heavy, suffocating silence that seemed to vibrate with a strange energy. And then a soft, rhythmic tapping on the window.
I didn't scream, even though every part of me wanted to. Because in that moment, lying on my thin hostel mattress, With my heart hammering against my chest, I realized something terrifying. No one else was reacting. The tapping came again, slow, deliberate, like whoever or whatever was outside knew exactly what it was doing. Amara. My name slipped through the darkness like a secret meant only for me. I turned to Zainab, my voice barely forming. Did you hear that? She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't respond. For a second, I thought she was asleep, but then I noticed something strange. Her eyes were open, staring straight ahead into the dark, reflecting the faint moonlight. She was awake, but she was refusing to acknowledge it. The tapping stopped just as abruptly as it had started. The silence that followed was worse than the sound itself, because now my mind had space to imagine things, too many things. I slowly lay back down, pulling the thin blanket up to my chin. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just nerves. The first night in boarding school, the new environment, the bullying. It had to be that. But deep down, something didn't sit right. The voice didn't sound far away. It sounded like it was right in my ear. I don't remember when I finally drifted off. But when I woke up, the sun was already peeking through the windows and the hostel had come alive again. Girls were rushing to the bathroom, buckets were clanging, and voices were shouting across the room. It almost felt normal, almost. I sat up slowly, scanning the room. Everything looked the same until I saw the window. There were faint marks on the glass, like fingerprints or scratches. I couldn't tell which. Stop staring at it. Zainab's voice made me jump. I turned to her quickly. You saw it too, right, last night? She paused, then shook her head. I didn't see anything. But you were awake. I said I didn't see anything. Her tone was sharp now, final. That was my first lesson of the day. In boarding school, silence is sometimes the loudest answer. Morning assembly was a blur. I barely listened to the teachers. My mind kept drifting back to the whisper and the way Zainab had pretended to be a statue. But the real distraction came during break time when I noticed her. Her name was Ada. She was standing under a tree away from everyone else, quiet, observing. In a place where everyone belonged to a clique, she stood alone. You're staring, Zainab said, appearing beside me. That girl, who is she? Zainab followed my gaze, and for the first time, she looked genuinely uneasy. Don't go near her. She's not normal. She came last term, and since then, things have been happening. What kind of things? Zainab leaned closer, her voice dropping to a ghost of a whisper. Girls hearing voices at night. My stomach dropped. I wasn't the only one. But before I could ask Ada the truth, a senior appeared with a message that made my blood freeze.
Before I could ask more, a loud voice interrupted us. Junior girls! We both turned instantly. A group of seniors approached, their presence alone enough to silence the entire area. Hope you all remember your duties, one of them said, her eyes scanning us carefully. Then they landed on me. You, new girl, what's your name? Amara, I replied, my voice small. She nodded slowly. Good. I hope you've learnt your lesson from last night, because tonight will be worse. Those words followed me the entire day, through classes, through lunch, and through prep. By evening, the tension in my chest had grown into something heavy and suffocating. Dinner was quieter than the previous night, or maybe I was just paying more attention now. I noticed something again. Some girls avoided certain tables, and almost everyone avoided Ada. She sat alone, eating quietly, like she was used to the isolation. That night, as we returned to the hostel, I felt that same uneasy feeling from before. Lights out came faster than I expected, and with it, silence. I lay still, eyes open, waiting. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then a soft creak. My breath caught. It wasn't coming from the window this time. It was coming from inside the hostel. I slowly turned my head, scanning the dark. That was when I noticed it. A figure standing between the bunks, not moving, not speaking, just standing there. My throat went dry. Zainab, I whispered, but there was no response. The figure tilted her head slightly, and for a brief second, moonlight touched her face. It was her, Ada. Relief flooded through me until I realized she was looking directly at me. She took a step closer, barefoot and silent. You heard it too, didn't you? She whispered. I nodded slowly. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes darkened. They always call on the first night. My stomach twisted. Who? I asked. Ada leaned in, her voice a chilling thread of sound. The ones who didn't leave. Before she could explain, a loud bang echoed through the hostel. Everyone jolted awake. Girls were screaming and the lights flickered on. Just like that, Ada was gone. I sat up quickly, my heart racing. Girls were panicking, some crying. What happened? Someone yelled. Then I saw it. The window was wide open, even though it had been locked. And on the floor beneath it was something that made my blood run cold. A trail, wet, leading from the window straight to my bed. Follow us if you love interesting stories. The seniors were already marching toward my bunk. I was about to be blamed for something I couldn't explain, but the wet trail held a secret much darker than a prank.
Quick one, guys. I am currently opening 1,000 slots for those that will be interested in learning how to generate AI videos and earn from them. It is totally free, and to get access to this, make sure you are following me, comment interested, and send me a DM.
I couldn't move. That wet trail on the floor wasn't just water. It was thick, uneven, and looked like something had been dragged into the room while we slept. Girls gathered around, their voices overlapping in panic. Who opened the window? Someone screamed. But I already knew the answer was far worse than a student playing a prank. Everybody step back! A senior's voice cut through the chaos. The tall senior from the previous night pushed through the crowd. Her eyes followed the trail until it stopped exactly at my feet. Her gaze lifted, locking onto mine with a cold intensity. You, calm down. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me as I climbed down. The senior pointed at the floor. Explain. I don't know, I stammered. A sharp slap cut my words short. My cheek burned instantly and tears sprang to my eyes. Don't lie, she said. Nothing happens in this hostel without a reason. She made me clean it. Every drop. As I knelt down with an old rag, a strange smell hit me. It smelled like something that had been left too long in the dark. It was colder than ice. When I finally finished, the senior leaned in so close I could feel her breath. There are rules in this school, Amara. Rules nobody writes down. And if you break them, you won't need anyone to punish you. When the lights went off again, the silence was heavy. Zainab turned toward me, her face pale in the moonlight. She whispered, "You shouldn't have answered it." Answered what? The voice. You listened, Amara, and now they know you can hear them. I felt a cold wave wash over me. I asked her who they were. Zainab hesitated before turning away. She said they were students. A long time ago, something happened here. No one talks about it. But some girls didn't go home. They stayed. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound made me jump. By morning, the whispers had started. As I walked to class, I could feel the stares. Girls were saying I was the one. Even the seniors looked at me differently now. Like I wasn't just a student anymore, but a target. By break time, I found Ada under the tree again. I didn't hesitate. "I need to talk to you." She looked up like she had been expecting me. "You saw it," I whispered. "I don't want them to notice me," my voice shaking. Ada stepped closer. "You don't get to choose that. They want what everyone here wants, belonging. But belonging in this school didn't mean making friends. It meant becoming part of the shadows that never leave."
Quick one, guys. I am currently opening 1,000 slots for those that will be interested in learning how to generate AI videos and earn from them. It is totally free, and to get access to this, make sure you are following me, comment interested, and send me a DM.